Listen, I need you to hear this with the part of you that already suspects something is off. Because if you're watching this, there's a quiet voice inside your chest whispering that something about her energy, her behavior, her patterns just doesn't add up anymore. And before you start blaming yourself or questioning your sanity, stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes is something most men never hear. Not because it's complicated, but because almost no woman will ever say it out loud. And at the end of this video, I'm going to reveal something important that will change the way you read women forever. So don't move. Now, let me speak to you as a psychologist, but also as a woman who understands the hidden emotional shifts most men never notice. The signs that a woman has recently been intimate with someone else are rarely physical. Those are the cliches men obsess over. The real indicators are psychological, emotional, behavioral. They show up in the tone of her voice, the rhythm of her responses, the way she unconsciously protects her attention because her mind is busy somewhere else. Women reveal their truth not in what they say, but in what they suddenly stop saying. But before we go deeper, understand this clearly. This isn't about judging her or assuming the worst. This video isn't about attacking women. It's about helping you recognize patterns that protect your emotional well-being, your confidence, and your time. Most men stay in the dark because they're conditioned to trust without observing. You're told to ignore your intuition even when it's screaming. And that is exactly why so many smart men end up blindsided. So I want you to do something right now. Make a small promise to yourself that you'll listen to this without filtering it through your fear and without letting hope distort reality. Just take it in for what it is. Psychological insight from someone who understands how female behavior shifts when her emotional attention moves toward another man. One more thing before we continue. I know some of these truths may sting, especially if you're already seeing certain patterns in your own relationship. But the pain you feel from clarity is always kinder than the pain you feel from confusion. Clarity is direction, confusion is slow poison, and you deserve direction. And because this conversation is too important to cut short, I want you to stay until the very end, because there is one sign, the most subtle and the most dangerous, that almost every man misses. It's the one that exposes everything without confrontation, without guessing, without argument. And I'll break it down in a way that finally makes sense. If you find value in what you're hearing, make sure you subscribe and like this video right now, because I promise you, no one else will explain female behavior to you this honestly, this directly, and this clearly. And the next parts of this video are only going to go deeper, sharper, and more revealing. There's something you need to understand about women, something most men overlook because they expect the truth to come in words. But women don't reveal emotional secrets through words. They reveal them through unpredictability. When a woman has recently been intimate with someone else, the first shift you'll notice isn't guilt. It's emotional restlessness. She becomes strangely inconsistent. One moment warm, the next moment distant. She doesn't argue more, she argues less. She doesn't cling, she withdraws. And that shift isn't random. It's her nervous system recalibrating to a new source of emotional stimulation. A woman's emotional energy always flows toward the person who most recently made her feel desired. That doesn't mean she stopped caring about you. It just means her mind is processing a new emotional imprint. She becomes quieter around you not because she's hiding something, but because she's thinking about something. A woman's silence is rarely empty. It's full of everything she's not ready to say. Another sign men rarely recognize is the sudden surge of politeness. Not sweetness, politeness. She becomes overly cautious with her tone, overly measured with her words, like she doesn't want to trigger a conversation she doesn't feel prepared to have. It's the kind of politeness someone uses when they're managing guilt, not intimacy. She'll tell you she's just tired or just stressed, but her energy says something different. She's emotionally overstimulated by someone who isn't you. And pay attention to this. Women don't pull away physically first. They pull away mentally. You'll see it in her eyes before you ever see it in her body. She'll look through you instead of at you. Her attention drifts during conversations. She takes longer to respond. Her laughter loses warmth. She's present enough to appear normal, but not present enough to feel connected. When a woman's mind is preoccupied, Her body follows soon after. But here's where most men make a mistake. They confront too soon, or they confront emotionally. And when you confront a woman who hasn't processed her own guilt, she won't tell the truth. She'll protect her image. That's not manipulation. That's human defense. You can't force clarity out of someone who hasn't found it within themselves yet. You need to understand something deeper. Women don't disconnect suddenly. They transition. Her emotional weight starts to shift, little by little, toward wherever her curiosity grows. And once that shift begins, her behavior starts to reveal what her words won't. Her phone becomes more protected. Her schedule becomes less predictable. Her excuses become more polished. Not because she's plotting, but because she's avoiding. Avoidance is the shadow of guilt. Now, before your mind runs wild, hear this clearly. Noticing these signs doesn't mean you accuse her. It means you observe with maturity. It means you stop gaslighting yourself into believing everything is fine when your intuition feels the opposite. A man's inner warning system works. He just talks himself out of listening to it. Stay with me, because what comes next will expose the psychological shift that gives away more than any message, any call, or any change in routine. It's something so subtle, so human, and so universal that once I explain it, you'll never unsee it again. There's a moment, subtle, quiet, almost invisible, when a woman's emotional alignment shifts. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it every time. It's not when she's distant. It's not when she's cold. It's when she suddenly becomes unbothered. A woman who has recently given her intimacy to someone else often develops a strange emotional calm around you, like the tension she used to feel in the relationship has been relieved somewhere else. This calm isn't peace. It's detachment. See, when a woman is fully emotionally invested in you, everything you do affects her. Your tone matters. Your approval matters. Your attention matters. But when she's mentally occupied with another man, her emotional dependency on you softens. That's why she doesn't react as much. She doesn't worry as much. She doesn't double-check if you're upset. She doesn't ask, "Are we okay?" anymore. That shift isn't maturity, it's displacement of emotional focus. One of the clearest psychological signs is this: she stops seeking reassurance from you. Every woman, no matter how confident, seeks reassurance from the man she emotionally belongs to. It's subconscious, it's biological. It's the feminine instinct to maintain closeness with the person she values. But when she has recently slept with someone else, her need for reassurance shifts toward that new emotional source. And that's why she suddenly seems more confident, more independent, more emotionally self-contained around you. Men mistake this for her leveling up emotionally, but often it's her detaching. Another shift emerges in her curiosity. Women naturally ask questions when they're connected. About your day, about your thoughts, about your feelings, about your plans. When her curiosity fades, even slightly, it's because her emotional investment is being redirected. A woman's attention follows her desire. It doesn't leave quietly. Her questions disappear before her feelings do. And listen carefully to this next part, because it's something men almost never notice. Her emotional tone becomes flatter. You'll hear it when she speaks to you. She's not rude. She's not cold. She's neutral. Neutrality is the emotional middle ground a woman uses when her heart is shifting, but she's not ready to reveal it. Neutrality protects her. It buys her time. It keeps things peaceful while her feelings fluctuate. But neutrality is never a good sign in a relationship because it means the emotional spark has found a different outlet. But the most revealing shift, the one that exposes everything without her saying a word, is the change in her micro-expressions. When she used to see you, her eyes lit up, even in small ways. Her smile wasn't big, but it was real. Her face softened. Now her expressions feel delayed, like her emotional reactions have to be consciously performed instead of naturally triggered. And it's not that she doesn't care, it's that her emotional priority is elsewhere. I want you to hear this as a man, not as someone preparing for heartbreak. These signs aren't about jumping to conclusions. They're about understanding human behavior. When a woman's intimacy shifts, her psychology shifts first, always. And when you learn to see these signals without fear, you stop living in confusion and start living in clarity. There's a specific behavioral shift that almost no man understands, yet it's one of the strongest indicators that a woman's emotional world has recently shifted toward someone else. It's the sudden change in how she manages her time, not the time she spends away from you. Men focus too much on that. It's the time she spends with you that changes first. When a woman has recently given her intimacy elsewhere, she becomes hyper-selective with her emotional energy. She's still around you, but she's not with you. Her presence becomes partial. Her time with you becomes strategic, almost like she's maintaining a version of normalcy without fully stepping into it. You'll notice she chooses activities that require less emotional engagement, watching something instead of talking, sitting beside you instead of talking to you, scrolling instead of interacting. She's not avoiding you, she's avoiding emotional depth. Why? Because emotional depth creates tension. When she's carrying a secret her mind hasn't fully processed yet. She keeps the environment shallow so she doesn't get pulled into conversations that require honesty she's not ready to give. Another shift, she becomes unusually protective of her personal rhythm. Women normally blend their routines with the man they're emotionally attached to. It happens naturally. Shared moments, shared decisions, shared updates. But when she's recently been intimate with someone else, she begins compartmentalizing. Her schedule becomes hers again. Her habits tighten. She becomes selective about what she shares and what she doesn't. Not because she's lying, because she's reorganizing. She's trying to create emotional separation without drawing suspicion. And here's something psychologically powerful. She stops seeking microconnection. You know those tiny moments where she used to reach for your arm, fix your collar, sit closer, ask if you ate, or check how your day went. Those disappear, not dramatically, quietly. Microconnections require emotional investment, and when her emotions are conflicted, she minimizes anything that feels too intimate. You don't realize how important those little gestures were until they vanish. But this next part is what truly exposes everything. Her emotional timing changes. When a woman is fully connected to you, her reactions to your messages, your tone, your presence, all happen in a natural emotional rhythm. But when another man has entered her emotional space, even briefly, her timing with you becomes inconsistent. Sometimes she responds too quickly, overcompensating. Sometimes too slowly, distance. Sometimes her tone feels unusually enthusiastic or unusually dry. These fluctuations aren't random, they're emotional recalibration. And of all the signs, the one men misunderstand the most is her sudden interest in self-improvement. She starts dressing differently, taking more photos, changing her hair, hitting the gym, updating her wardrobe. You think it's for you. It's not. It's because intimacy with someone new reactivates a woman's desire to redefine herself. It triggers her self-image. And women express emotional transformation through appearance far more than men realize. Listen carefully. None of these shifts make her a villain. They make her human. Humans don't always process guilt, temptation, loneliness, or curiosity with logic. Sometimes emotions move faster than decisions. And you noticing these signs doesn't mean you accuse her. It means you understand her psychology. It means you stop ignoring your instincts. It means you step out of confusion. What you're about to hear next is something far deeper. How her emotional contradictions start revealing the truth she tries the hardest to hide. There's a moment when a woman's behavior stops making sense on the surface, but starts making perfect sense psychologically. It's when her actions and her emotions don't match anymore. And when a woman has recently slept with someone else, this emotional contradiction becomes one of the clearest, yet most misunderstood signs. She tries to act normal, but her emotional responses slip out in ways she can't fully control. You start to feel like you're talking to two versions of her, the one performing stability and the one quietly drifting away. One of the strongest contradictions you'll notice is how she suddenly becomes overly agreeable. She avoids conflict so intensely that she lets things slide she never used to ignore. You say something that would normally spark a long conversation, and she just nods. You make a mistake she would have corrected, and she stays silent. This isn't peace, it's conflict avoidance. Women become extremely gentle with men they are emotionally stepping away from because they don't want to trigger guilt, questions, or emotional depth. Agreeableness becomes a shield. But then, strangely, you'll notice she also becomes irritated by the smallest things she can't easily hide her emotional reaction to. A tone, a question, a harmless comment. She snaps lightly or pulls back sharply, even though she's trying to stay calm. That's the contradiction. Her emotional bandwidth is already stretched thin because she's processing someone else's emotional imprint. So little things start to feel overwhelming. Her mind is overloaded, her heart is confused, and her reactions reflect that tension. Another contradiction appears in her communication habits. She may text you back quickly, but the messages feel empty, or she may respond slowly, but then act overly warm when she finally replies. It's the inconsistency that reveals the truth. A woman who is emotionally aligned with you has a consistent communication rhythm. A woman whose intimacy has shifted becomes emotionally uncoordinated. She's trying to maintain connection with you while navigating feelings she hasn't fully acknowledged yet. This emotional imbalance also shows up in her conversations. She becomes vague when she talks about her day, but strangely detailed about unimportant things. She tells you about her errands, her tasks, her plans, but avoids expressing how she feels. Emotional expression becomes uncomfortable for her because it forces her to confront her own inner conflict. So she replaces emotional expression with factual updates. It sounds responsible, but it feels empty. And then comes the sign most men overlook entirely. She becomes unusually curious about your mistakes, not because she wants to attack you, but because guilt creates projection. When people feel guilty, they often look for flaws in the other person to balance the emotional scales. She might ask where you were or whether you're talking to someone, even if it's unlike her. She's not accusing you. She's measuring herself. Guilt makes people suspicious even when they have no reason to be. But the deepest contradiction, the one that exposes her inner emotional turmoil, is that she tries harder in the relationship while simultaneously pulling away. She plans something nice, but seems distant while doing it. She compliments you, but her tone is flat. She touches you, but the spark feels different. It's her attempt to reassure both you and herself that nothing has changed, even though something has. A woman's contradictions aren't manipulation. They're emotional overload. She's juggling loyalty, guilt, confusion, and desire all at once. And the human heart can't hold that much conflict forever. It leaks. It slips out. It shows. And what I'm about to explain next is the final, most revealing sign. Not emotional, not behavioral, but psychological. One that almost no man understands. Yet it exposes everything with crystal clarity. There's one final shift, a psychological change so subtle, so deeply wired into human behavior, that once you understand it, you'll never second-guess your intuition again. And before I explain it, I want to say this clearly. No single sign proves anything. Human beings are complex. Emotions are messy. Behavior can change for reasons that have nothing to do with betrayal. What I'm sharing with you isn't a weapon. It's a lens, a way to understand emotional truth without accusing, panicking, or assuming the worst. Keep that grounded mindset as you listen. The final sign is this. Her emotional alignment stops matching your reality and starts matching an internal reality you no longer have access to. In simple terms, she's responding to a world inside her that you're no longer fully part of. You'll feel it before you understand it. It shows up when you talk to her, and it feels like her mind is somewhere else. You share something meaningful, and she gives a surface-level response. You open up emotionally, and she treats it like information instead of connection. The resonance between you, the emotional click that relationships rely on, feels like it's fading. This shift is not about sex. It's about where her emotional center is anchored. When a woman has recently bonded with someone else, even briefly, her mind begins recalibrating her emotional priorities. She's not doing it consciously. She's not planning it. It's an internal reorganization of feelings, something every human experiences when their heart feels pulled in multiple directions. You'll notice it in her emotional timing, when your joy no longer excites her in the same way, when your sadness no longer softens her, when your wins don't light her up, when your presence doesn't relax her. Her emotional reactions used to sync with yours without effort. Now there's a delay, a disconnect. fact, a quiet mismatch. She's not cold, she's conflicted. Another powerful sign appears in how she processes intimacy, both emotional and physical. A woman who is emotionally aligned with you responds naturally to affection, warmth, closeness. But when she's wrestling with inner conflict, she becomes hesitant, not rejecting, hesitant. She hugs you, but holds back a moment. She kisses you, but her mind flickers elsewhere. She's present, but not fully immersed. This doesn't make her cruel. It makes her overwhelmed. And then comes the most telling indicator of all. She begins auditing her own feelings. You'll see it in the way she pauses before responding, in how she rethinks simple decisions, in how she watches her words more carefully, in how she becomes hyper-aware of her own emotional responses around you. That self-monitoring is not manipulation, it's emotional confusion. She's trying to understand herself at the same time you're trying to understand her. But here's the truth that sets everything into perspective. Signs aren't proof. Patterns aren't verdicts. Behavior isn't confession. These signs exist to give you clarity, not certainty. What they reveal is whether the emotional connection between you is weakening, shifting, or struggling. And that is something you deserve to know, not to accuse, not to punish, not to control, but to understand your own emotional environment so you can respond with strength instead of insecurity, with awareness instead of anxiety, with confidence instead of denial. Your intuition matters, your peace matters, your clarity matters. And if this video helped you see things more clearly, if it gave you understanding instead of confusion, direction instead of self-doubt, then make sure you subscribe and like this video, because I'm going to keep teaching you the deeper layers of female psychology that most men never get access to. If you're ready for more videos like this, just tell me.